Welcome
Yep.
back, everyone, to another episode of Grow Your Path to Wellness. Last week, our guest, if you missed it, was Steph Schaefer, and we talked all about the beauty, power, and influence of books and like how they can be tied into our overall wellness. So this week, we have two guests that are joining us. So Tom is back with us for our first episode of our Mandown Men's Mental Health series. And joining him and joining us is Rico Natareno. So welcome back to you both.
Happy to be here.
All right. Yeah. So I know, Tommy, you wanted to kind of give an introduction to what you hope for this series to be and kind of get started in the conversation there.
Yeah. So, looking forward to building on this. The first conversation that we had a month or so ago had a really good response. So, talking about building out as a series, we wanted to keep that conversation and that ball rolling. The topic of men's mental health is obviously crazy robust. I know we're going to have a slew of guests that are in the field that professionally deal with this. We're going to have people from diverse backgrounds. We're going to bring different opportunities and different topics to this conversation. But this week, we wanted to start just getting the ball rolling, just keeping it simple. We're bringing on Rico. He's going to talk about some of his experiences and backgrounds. And who he is, some insight to the relationship there. Rico's a really good, trusted friend of mine. He's a brother of mine, and we've known each other and been through a lot over the years. And I felt he's a very strong person to bring some light to some of the areas of some of the things men deal with when it comes to the mental health. And as we talk about this conversation, the big thing to note, and I think when I was watching and kind of going through the last video, some self-critique is I want to always be clear that I'm not a professional and that just an average dude, and I'm going to do my best to just bring real people in and people that can really shed some light onto this just from a normal side of the house from variant backgrounds. So I hope everybody keeps that in mind when we're talking about some of this, because I don't want to get myself lit on fire for something when I'm definitely not a professional, but I do the best to research what I can and try to speak with some educated or some studying behind what I'm talking about, or just some personal experience. So with that being said, I want to give Rico the opportunity to introduce himself.
My name is Rico Natareno, and I'm 36 years young, come from a single parent household, me, my sister, and my mother. I will put out there, I was an 8th grade dropout, and I ended up getting my GED about 20 years later, and we'll start from there. I guess that's all I got.
What do you do now? What do you do now?
I'm a high-rise window cleaner, and I own my own company.
Okay, good for
So
you.
if you guys don't know, that's like the people that are up on like real tall on the buildings, terrifying you as you're watching them on the, is it called scaffold? I don't know what you're up on. Those real tall and
scaffolds. All of it.
This is the guy swinging from. He's rappelling down these big buildings on these ropes. Just him and a rope.
Sitting on the board,
handling it. It's amazing.
And in that role, while terrifyingly that high, I've seen pictures. I have not been there, obviously, but he's dressed up as like Spider-Man for the kids' hospital and cheered up their mental health. So I just have to give him that shout out because
I was blessed once to do that. Yes. So.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Do you mind me asking what company you own, or you don't have to share that? I don't know if that's a no.
It's a commercial cleaning based out of Northeast Ohio. I do window cleaning, regular maintenance on buildings, or construction cleaning as well.
Very cool. Good for you.
Thank you.
So, Rico, I want to dive into something. So you talked about, being, raised by a single parent. I had a little bit of escape with that, but it was intermediately because my background, my mother went through a couple relationships, and there was time where it was just her, but it wasn't always. So talk about that. Talk about what that was for you, and how do you think that affected you, kind of glancing back with a little bit of hindsight?
Honestly, in the beginning, I was so young, nothing really hit me, I guess. I didn't realize it. I was too busy having fun or trying to forget things that even happened. Everything hit me when I got to an older age. Yeah, it It was rough when I got older. It was rougher when I was older, just thinking back on those things, and it actually affected me then, Definitely had an effect in my school, my, little trouble that I got into when I was younger, but mentally it didn't affect me until I was older, I would say.
Are you comfortable
Or maybe
sharing
it
some
didn't.
of what's affecting you? Or what if what you realized was actually affecting you?
Watching my family just go through what we went through, you know what I mean? Like the abuse, the moving, the constant moving, just it was bad, Just I don't know. It was more along the lines of all the abuse, the moving, all the shit that we did not have to go through. Pardon my French.
It's like
And
instability, like a lot of instability. And I
yeah,
heard you say abuse, but so that's
yeah,
different. But
yeah, a lot of instability. My mother did her best though. She was A1 all the way through. She did her best. Um, Damn, I don't know where to go from that, but
No, it's vulnerable to share, and it's your
Yeah.
first
yeah,
time sharing, and I'm sure like on a platform like this. So literally, we thank you for anything you share because you don't have to share anything. And
right,
I
no,
just like from the mental health professional side, what you pointed out is like in those moments we're in survival mode. Like our brains and our bodies are in survival mode.
yeah,
So our logical brain, our rational brain isn't realizing what's happening until
right,
you're out of it and settled enough to look
yeah,
back and say, oh wow.
yeah. And you give yourself some time to think about things, not just sit back and review your life.
Yeah, that that saying holds with with age comes wisdom. It's crazy and it's interesting. Just between the last couple or the last handful of weeks from the last time that I was on the show with you ladies, doing constant self-reflection and really diving into this topic more and in this life more, really trying to figure out how to play a real advocate role and how to really understand things. It's made me personally do some like reflection on myself. And I realized, I'm thinking about something that popped in my head because of what Rico had just said. We're going through some of the things you do when you're growing up, and there's always this stigma or acceptance. It plays both roles on your childhood being the effect of how you are now. Some people just don't want to hear it. Some people think it's kind of it's a joke. Other people really believe in it, and I think doing some self-reflection over that time, it's interesting that some of the things that happened when I was younger and how they affected me that I am only just realizing now, with that age, with that wisdom, where they weren't like these giant traumas, right? Like the giant traumas, it's like I boxed them, I accepted them, you work through them, they are what they are. But it's these little things, it's these tiny little things, like these responsibilities to take care of somebody, or these responsibilities that you kind of age through with being a protector. That was mine. That was my recognition. Like being a protector, looking after my mom, hoping my mom was okay, seeing her struggle through some of the things she struggled. At times when, being an older brother, things like that, having to protect my siblings. And I realized like I've carried that through, and it's almost like it's all the time now, to the point where I even fight with my wife over it because it's like I'm just naturally want to protect her, and she's a strong, independent woman. She can handle it, but it's hard for me to let that go, and it really like it affects me, it bothers me. And being a protector like that, like especially your parents and siblings, like you never think that. To me, that was normal. It was always very normal. But now I realize it was actually kind of a problem. Like it's if I were to do it and raise a child differently, I'm aware of that, and I'd be very careful on how to steer that. Because being a protector is great, right? Taking care of people you love is a good thing. Um, you know, Taking that approach from a man's perspective of making sure that you're being a guardian and you're doing that thing that you're just naturally meant to do is good. But it's weird how it can affect you. Something so normal. I don't know. Rico, you have siblings?
yeah.
I
I was
have
gonna say we
a
call those little T's too.
Yeah.
There's like big T trauma, and then there's little T trauma. That's like the chronic little ones over time. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out because that's really what you identified.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you asked if I had siblings, right?
Yeah.
I have one sister from the same mother and father, and I actually have 3 half brothers that I actually did not know I had until I was probably roughly around 12 years old. So that came, that alone is some little bit of trauma yourself, when you, damn, I had 3 brothers and I didn't know, type thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can imagine that. Well, actually, I can't imagine that. I don't even know what that would feel like just randomly have a brother pop out of the wall.
No, and just at your doorstep, you come home from your friend's house and just like, bam, here's your brother. It's like, oh, damn, they look like my dad. But I don't. Hold on, what is going on? Joking.
Do you mind me asking, Rico, what, like, for you, was it a similar, because it brought up a topic for me that, like, I talk about with, like, in my own professional realm with my own clients on the types of roles, which are often, dysfunctional, but they form for a reason, whether it's survival, protection, to keep the peace or whatever. But like I heard, Tommy, I heard you say you felt like you took on that protector role in the house as a male. And I grew up, from a woman's perspective of, my mom later kind of, I think it was elementary school, both of my parents got into different relationships, but like I never remember them ever being together. And half of one of my parents' relationships was very dysfunctional, some alcoholism and such. But anyways, so I took on as a female, and I had 3 brothers, I took on my role that I felt like I took on looked different. And it brought up, and I don't know if this is like a gendered thing or if it's just a household thing. So do you mind sharing, like, if you felt like you took on a kind of role in your household?
I did. I absolutely did. It was kind of part of my reasoning for dropping out of school. Yeah, I was a young kid that didn't want to be there, but I ended up working full time starting at the age of 14 at a local pizza shop. I was lucky enough that I grew up with, my friend, his parents owned the pizza shop, so they allowed me to work, and they got with my mother. They knew, everybody knew I wasn't going to school, so why not go to work and help pay some bills? So yeah, protector definitely, especially over my little sister as well. But yeah, I think that just comes naturally. I don't think that's a gender thing. I think it's whoever has the ability in them to do it and wants to do it, or has to do it, will do it.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Like, for me, I seen myself taking on, like, not kind of peacekeeper, but I was kind of a blend of what we call like the perfectionist and like peacekeeper. It was like, what do I need to do? What can I channel myself in to be like, look at this, this is good, right? Like, and whenever things were kind of chaos. So less of like protector for me, but more of like, what can I do? What do I need to do? Whether it's
like the cheerleader almost too. Like, look, this is why it's important to keep going. Look at all the exciting things. Come on, we can do this.
Yeah. Show up to something together and get along. Look, it's really good. This is, I did something really good. Can you guys like both be there? Like, I've noticed that for myself. So I didn't want to I didn't know if there was any kind of gender perspective or anything on that, but it was interesting. So it sparked that in my mind.
Yeah, I think a lot of some of the stuff that was passed down to me when it wasn't a natural, just kind of like picking up the pieces. I specifically remember Matt so many different times. Matt is my stepfather, but in all intents and purposes, he's my father. He's been the biggest impression in my life. He's my hero. But many times growing up, where you got to protect, you got to take care of your mom. Don't let anything happen to your mom. Make sure you're protecting your mom. If I'm not here, you're the man of the house. Like, if you got to take care of your brothers, you got to take care of your family. And it was always like, make sure that you do that, right? And that was coming down from my father figure. So I know there was some impression on me, but actually, thinking back on it now, if I'm being raw and vulnerable about it, that actually centered it, I think, a little bit. That gave it purpose, like, versus the feeling of having to, because we were in some kind of a crisis mode, or there was some trauma going around, or some crisis going around with the family. That put a perspective and more of a tutelage to it, right? It's like, here, this is what this means to do this. This is how you need to be the man. This is what you got to do to take care of people,
Like, regardless of what's going on.
Right.
Like chaos, this is still your, your foundation. This is your role. This is what you need to do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's like a calm in that, where it's like he mastered it. I have not at all mastered it. 30 going on 37 years old. I haven't mastered that technique, but he can sit down in the middle of a crisis situation and just be the pillar. It doesn't matter how he's feeling. Doesn't matter what he's going through. It doesn't matter what the situation may be for him at all. He's going to be right there as the pillar and hold the house up. And that's always been the case. It's interesting.
I think that's what we end up, and Kelsi, I know we talk a lot about this, like, in our own practice. We have people that will see that will say, well, I feel like I should be, or I feel like I need to be. And we're like, who's saying that to you? Is that your voice? And it's typically either a parent voice, a societal voice of some kind, or a religious voice. Those are like the three that I personally see concretely. So it sounds like Matt, and of course, like, I love Matt, and he was doing the best he could with what he had, right? So he was like, I need to make sure that everyone's protected, and the next person I have is the oldest son, so I'm going to pass that role on to him, not realizing that we carry those things with us, and it's like the schema we live for our life. It's like now our worldview is based on my role as the protector. And until you get older and you do your own work and realize, like, oh, but I don't always have to be. Like, I'm an adult now. I can make my own decisions.
Yeah, and that's honest. I still don't know how not to be. I don't know. I don't know how to not, like, just pick up and do things. Me and Rico, you mind if I share some insights with some of our conversations? I'll do my best to be easy on it. Okay. So we've talked. Rico tends to be one of my go-tos. He's the guy that I lean on when we gotta, like, talk about real life stuff that we feel like we can't really speak to anyone else, our significant others or anybody else. We need to get this stuff off. And we've talked in the past about what we recognize, and this goes beyond our immediate relationships. What we recognize is this difference where, and I constantly am trying to put the dots together, but we recognize this difference in what seems to be between men and women. And this is our perspective. So this isn't a generalization. This is our perspective, where we are naturally always considering what to do for the other person. We're always doing this thing where we're considerate to, we're going to put ourselves second and make sure you're first. That can go to strangers, to our family, to other people. The most impactful and the obvious one is to the people who are directly with us, so our significant others, or the people in our household. And we always have this thing where we beat our heads against the wall because it feels like, what are we doing? Like, we're doing this and nothing, we don't see it anywhere else. It's like, it's only the guys doing this. Why are only the guys doing the consideration thing for the people around them and putting themselves second? And then it's like, maybe that's not right. So in the recent days, and a lot of struggles that I'm going through and a lot of stuff I've been talking to Amanda about, I wonder if it's just, maybe we're wrong. I don't know. Maybe we're wrong for being considerate. It's weird. It's a wild conversation.
Like, overly considerate, I guess.
Something.
Like selfless. It's like, and then that can impact our ability to be, not ours, and I'm not putting myself into this, but like outside looking in, that feels to me like I have to be completely selfless and then not pay attention to my own needs or wants per se. Like those.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who taught
automatically?
Don't know.
Yeah, because everyone taught you to be a protector and take care of everyone else, but did anyone also come in and say, take care of yourself? Did anyone say that was okay and teach you?
Protector.
Yeah.
Not really. But it's funny, like, when we do it, Rico, I don't know. I'll quit, like, hijacking, but it doesn't ever feel like I'm going out of my way. It feels very natural, and I'm never mad about being considerate. Actually, in most cases, I'm very proud of it. Like, see an old lady carrying groceries, go help her carry groceries. That's the thing. It's like, I'm totally happy being that way. I'm proud to be that way. And I'd impress that on my son if I had a son. Like, the same way. Like, do that. This is good. But it's weird because we hit this conflict where it's like we feel like we're giving and we feel like we're not we're not getting. We feel like we end up with a cup is very empty, and we're standing there alone with the empty cup. And it stems out of some of that. I don't know. I'll let you jump in, Rico. I'm sorry.
It's a tough topic, because I think people like us, we're overly considerate, and there's no I don't think there's no level of consideration from another person that can equal it, because we give so much. It's tough. And then when I go, you know what? I'm too considerate. I feel like I'm inconsiderate by saying that.
Yes.
Rough, right?
Yes.
Well, I think the point there is that it doesn't have to be one or the other, right? It's just learning how to find the happy medium. And I know that sounds great, like as me saying that. I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, but that's why we do what we do, and what we help people do is like those unhelpful thinking and limiting beliefs and the thinking patterns that we've been stuck in our whole lives for survival mostly, right? To take care of other people is this one. You can still be a considerate person, but also make sure you fill your cup first and fill your extra little cup. I don't have 2 cups. Oh, an idea. Fill your cup first. Make sure there's enough in the reservoir. And if there is, you give this to other people. This is still yours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have any in here, it's okay to set the boundary.
Yes. And I think a big piece of this, and this isn't me, we're all staying in our own lanes here and saying, okay, I feel like we all have to learn what our own needs and wants are. And then the next step after that is to like, how in the world do I communicate that to somebody else? Because like we can't read minds. And I hear you say it's like almost our partners or other people in our life. It's like, okay, I feel like I'm not getting anything back, but how am I relating with that? In what ways, what would that look like if somebody was filling me back up? What would make up my cup?
One day, maybe that'll be a thing I'll realize personally, because I just don't know how to see it. Like it doesn't matter how bad of a day I'm having. It never matters. I could be sad. I could be depressed. I could be on the brink of emotional collapse. I could have a panic attack. Everything could be going wrong on my day. If I walk into my house and I see my wife need something, all of that goes away immediately. It's not even the thing I think about. The first thing I'm going to do is take care of her. Never have to ask. Never. It's just automatic. It's like I don't know. I'm sorry, Kelsi.
I was just going to say, I bet over time, does it feel like, this is like a question for you and your perspective. Is it like a slow burn? It's like over time, do you feel like you'll come to a place where you just, like, I don't want to call it a breakdown and that's none of my business, but like, do you feel like it builds up over time, or do you feel like it doesn't even feel like a buildup? It just is that way.
Which piece?
Like for you and like how you feel like, okay, as days go on and I'm feeling like, okay, I had an awful day or something else happens. And do you feel like those kind of things pile up for you and you just, or kind of, to put them aside?
Yeah. Absolutely. In my past, they would lead to, relatively destructive behavior, self-sabotage, things like that. I just look for whatever made me feel safe and happy and just, pure. Everybody's different. That's how it worked for me. But yeah, it's just interesting. And I'm in this conflict personally, as from what we've talked about so far. So I want to kind of paint that picture into the way that like I'm thinking as a man and how I was raised and things that came in. And I'm in conflict where I feel like I hear that I need to take care of myself more. But I still feel very strongly that I will not take care of myself at the sacrifice of others. And if I see others are in need, to me, that's the sacrifice of others. Like it's crazy because it's like, I hear it, I understand it. It makes total sense. The 2 cups, the only giving what you can give thing makes a lot of sense. But damn, is that impossible? I just don't know how to feel it
in the same space together. Like those 2 concepts. Very all or nothing.
it's not even that. It's not even like it has to be that way. It's just it's so natural. Like, and it feels good when I do stuff like that. Like me personally, when I help those people, when I help somebody around me, or I'm considerate for someone, holding the door open for somebody, carrying the groceries for the lady walking across the street. It feels good. It feels like I'm doing my part as a human being, and I'm looking out for people that I can look out for because I'm capable. And I don't want to change that, but it's always at the sacrifice of something. Almost always at the sacrifice of something, which is it's a weird dynamic. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It is.
For me, it almost like brings up the word acceptance. Like, I have to accept that if I'm going to go out of my way to, like, I was already in the car, my car was started, and then I saw that, I'm just going to keep using the old lady carrying groceries example. And then I see this old lady that needs to walk across the street, and, you know, I'm going to accept the fact that I'm going to be late to this next appointment, or I'm going to be late getting home with the groceries, or I might be a little frustrated that I went out of my way. Like, I have to balance those two things and make a conscious decision in the moment rather than being so like automatic about it, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, being more mindful in the moment of what we're doing and then how that's going to impact us later. Because like you said, in the moment, you feel good about it, but afterward, you almost build resentment.
No, and that's the funny thing. It's never resentment until it's someone close to me. For me, it's never resentment for anything around me, but when I'm at home or I'm around people that are close to me and I do the things and I feel like they're disregarding me doing the things, you know, and not that I need that's not praise. It's just like I don't know the best way to term it. Like, it's like a mutual respect thing, like the kind of like, hey, I'm considerate to you. Maybe you could shed that back to me. Maybe we could pair and being considerate for each other kind of thing, you know? Those are when I tend to run into the disdain, right? It's never the old lady carrying groceries. I'm going to do that all day long. I'm going to be done and be happy I helped her. I'm going to feel good that I did a good deed, you know? But when I come home and I'm stressed and I'm angry because of all these things going around in my life, and then I have to help my wife with something, I help my wife with something because I want to do that. And in most places I feel good. But then when I feel like there isn't a return, it's like, wow, now I'm angry. Now I'm frustrated. Now I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Why am I being so nice? Screw everything. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go run away and go do my own thing. But that never works.
Kelsi, I think you said expectation. Like, you don't have an expectation with the little old lady because you want to do that, and you wouldn't expect her to give you money for it or thank you. That's just something you would do selflessly. But you have this expectation that if I do these things for me, for your wife, that somehow I magically know, and I'm just building it, right? Like, there's no disagreement here, but like, somehow I know that I did that thing for you, so I expect that you should know that in return you should give me this. And then when you don't get that in return, that's where the resentment comes in.
That's
like with an expectation attached.
It is, I think, to a degree it is. You know, it's, and I don't know. I don't know specifics. I don't know if it's best to dive into specific type things, but I'm trying to think of a good example. It's like, I don't know, Rico, help me out. Like, we do something, you know, where we do it naturally and consider it, but then we come back and the same isn't given in return. You know, my brain's fogging. I can't think of a specific example. They happen all the time because I know I'm always like, me personally, I'm always like fired off on them. I'm like, come on.
It's just certain situations, I guess. It's just the little things that you look for, you know? Like me personally, my girls, she's a principal, and she comes home and now she does her master's classes. So the expectation was I don't expect too much from her because I know she's got a lot on her plate, but I'm, you know, being overly considerate to making sure that she doesn't have to do anything when she comes home. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm helping out any. Or answering what you're going for. What are you going for here, Thomas?
No, I think
no, keep going. You're on there.
Yeah, I think you're on the track, man.
So now I'm froze. Where was I? Don't brain fart.
So what's something that you might like expect in return, but not necessarily communicate that? Like, you're being considerate and taking care and doing all these things and not expecting too much, but then where does like resentment get built? I guess maybe is the question. Or frustration that you're not getting your basement.
It's the little things. The water bowl's still empty. For the dogs, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It goes, I don't know. Water bowl's dead, bone dry. I've been away for hours. I come back home, the thing's bone dry still. It's kind of, it's the little things. I don't know.
Is it more
that's even
spoken thing? Like when you do things without them, the partner or the other individual communicating, hey, can you help me with this? Like verbally, is it more things that you feel like you go out of your way to do, or things that you do without being directly asked? Does it cause that build up feeling or resentment feeling more?
I feel like I build my own resentment because I know, like, if I give her time to be considerate, which I'm not saying she's an inconsiderate person or anybody is, but if I can do it, I go do it myself. So I might not give anybody time to be considerate for myself. Mm-hmm. You know, it could be a thing too. I could be just these self-inflicted wounds that I'm bringing upon myself.
We know we do those a lot.
Yeah.
And that's not just men. Let me tell you, let me just normalize for you. That's not just men, that we build these like self-fulfilling prophecies in our head, or yeah, like you said, those self-inflicted wounds, and then we wonder why we're hurt all the time. And it's like, maybe I got to look at myself here and adjust what I'm doing. But at the same time, Kelsi made a good point, like the communicating.
Yeah.
Like, are we keeping it all up here and getting frustrated of what we're not communicating?
For me, most of the time.
For me, most of the time, that's the way I like to think.
You are. Say that again, Rico. I'm sorry.
I'd like to think I'm a great communicator, I think.
And then, I mean, and sometimes what I see, and could be apples to oranges too, but something that came into my head that I, have touched on in my own work with people. And like we said, not just men, but a lot of these behaviors, assumptions, or automatic thoughts or reactions are coming from a place where our brain was used to leaning on those things because everything around us was dysfunctional. And then if we fast forward and put us into right now, not that everything's functional and perfect now, but we're not in the same situations that we used to be, where those behaviors and the mindset, perspective, whatever, it's not serving us the same purpose anymore. So we're doing it, still doing it, and we're still doing it, and we're still doing it. And it's like, it gives you that feeling, like you said, of like hitting your head off of.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm only hitting my head off of them now because I realize what they are, but at the same time, it's like, for me, I think I feel like I am a good communicator, but I realize the results of my communication are always terrible. I never get it across the way that I'm meaning to get it across. So I'm like, yeah, I talk, I express, I'm always there in my mind. I'm saying everything that, all my feelings, everything that I want to express is coming out, but it never yields the results. And I've grown to this like bad habit of like getting into these long-winded conversations where I repeat myself over and over again, because I'm just like, until I see you get it, I want to keep saying it. So I make sure I'm saying it okay. But that's hard. Honestly, like the small things relative to like, okay, I'm considerate. I want to make sure the old lady gets her groceries in her car. I'm gonna keep going back to that analogy because it's a good one. I don't say, I'm not feeling good, I'm this, I'm that, but I'm gonna help you do this, and I just want you to understand that I don't feel good. I'm never gonna do that because it's very uncomfortable. And then on the flip side, I'm never going to tell the old lady I need her help carrying my groceries in. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's weird. It's like this crazy catch-22 because like I can communicate it, but I don't know how. I don't know how
to cheat to do the thing that would make me feel uncomfortable to do or acknowledge or to say.
It's like, and you want to try to communicate how you feel, but at the same time, like the biggest thing, and this is where I've struggled before because I've tied it into this whole understand who I am, and it's like you see that I'm being considerate, and my expectation is know that the best way to communicate with me in that light is to be the same in return. So like if you see that I'm always doing X thing, I'm always doing this chore around the house, or I'm always, at work, I'm always doing this duty, and others around me, be on the same playing field with me, be a partner, be a teammate, be a a parallel peer, be a peer in life, and be considerate in the same aspect, right? Because no one person can do the same thing all the time, and people need to share the load, right? And that's kind of what this, like, the overarching topic of mental health encompasses, right? We all have to share the load, and that's yeah.
I saw
Circling
Rico
back,
kind of light up when you said you're never going to or ask the old lady to carry groceries for you, and he turned his mic back on. I didn't know if he had a thought.
I just wanted you guys hear me laugh at that. That's all.
Like, yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. We would never say these things.
never gonna happen. Never.
Is there
and
anything
never
for
gonna
you,
happen.
Rico, that's like resonating as he's talking, or?
No, not at the moment, but I understand. I do. Pretty
Yeah.
much nails it though.
So can you mind? Would everybody mind if I shift this a little bit?
Absolutely.
So I want to talk to some of the lights. So some of the things that I mentioned in the last time we did one of the men's mental health talks is ways to promote and to encourage and to try to drive, and which is the thing that I personally, openly and passionately want to do, is I want men to feel comfortable to talk about what's bothering them, because I think men need it, at least in all the circles of life that I've experienced and a lot of the things that I read and I research on. We need to find ways to create the safe net. And one of the good ways to do that, and one of the best ways I think to do that, is to promote each other, like to look at each other and say, hey, you're a king, you're a brother, you're a king, and it doesn't matter what you do, you need to thrive. And Rico's a hell of an example of that, because I'm not going to share details on his stuff. He can share what he wants to, but I want to give you some opportunity to kind of talk about that experience in your life of coming from the things you came from and the background and some of the struggles and some of the adversities you've overcome, to get in a place where you've balanced yourself, you found a center to some degree. You're becoming a version of yourself I think that you've been wanting to be, and you're thriving, to the fact that you mentioned earlier, you started your own company. You have your own company now. Like, talk about that experience and that growth and what that means for you, and how it feels.
It feels great, especially what I've come from, the bad situations I put myself into, which put me at a rock bottom state. Let's just say that's one of my motivations that brought me to where I am today. And then, so there's pretty much two things, I guess you can say, and it's just now coming to me. One is where I was rock bottom. I did spend a little time where I didn't need to, and growing up and wanting to be the opposite of what my father was to my family. So I know who I don't want to be, and I know where I don't get my
Want to
words
end
tied
up?
You're good.
Want to end up where I don't want to go back, so so on and so forth. So rock bottom was it though. Rock bottom showed me mental health, I guess. I had all the time in the world to think about everything from my first memory as a child to where I want to be 10 years from that day, And it just, it took me on a better path. And I ran into people like you and Mandown. And now I surround myself with good company as well. So I'm on a good path. It feels good, and it was rough, but I made it.
Rico, so for the purposes of the show, people know Mandown as Mandown Men's Mental Health. They don't know the backstory. So
I
you
guess,
saying I
hey,
met people like Tommy and Mandown?
honestly,
Go
Rico,
ahead.
this is a good opportunity. No. I want you to, because I'll speak on that all day long, and I'm going to have opportunities to. But I want you to talk about what that meant, because that's something. The reason we called it Mandown has some volume, has some weight, and some background behind it, and it fits and it works. But you talk about what Mandown is and what it means.
Mandown's a brotherhood. It was a football team at first. It was a getaway from the things I was doing in my life and didn't want to deal with. So I go play football, you know, and go have fun and meet this group of guys that I barely even knew. But playing football and seeing them guys every week, it just, they were a lot of those over there. They grew up together. They knew each other already. They were brothers, and they accepted me into their family. And eventually, I just stuck around, and I didn't go nowhere. I'm still here. But it was awesome. I surrounded myself with a better group of people, seeing what they were doing with their lives, and I kind of wanted to be surrounded with those type of people.
Yeah, and expanding on that just a little bit, like it's been interesting with Mandown. And Rico, chime in any point you think I'm wrong or you want to jump in and expand on any piece. But it's been interesting what it's been over the years, because the idea behind it was a group of guys, a group of people who decided to create a football team together. Not just because we wanted to play football, just because we wanted to be around each other. You know, we wanted to spend time with our brothers, and we wanted to bond, and we wanted to be in that safe place, that place where we felt like we could be our true selves all the time. And it never was defined as that, you know, but it always was that. It's always been that. You know, some of the best moments with that family has been nowhere near a football field. You know, that's just something we do because we enjoy it. A lot of the best times in that has been in the struggles. It's been in places where people were having hard times, and we were able to have that safety net to build each other up. You know, that idea of, hey, we can pick each other up. We can do this together, right? We've gone through some of those things, you know, where just a simple day at the bar with all the guys just being with each other, talking about all the things that are bothering us, you know, venting, going off, whatever, getting it out. It's one hell of a therapy session. It's always been. And we've created this like crazy bond, and you know, and it's translating and it's turning into more things. That's why when Amanda and Kelsi, when you were willing to name this Mandown Mental Health as the series, that it fits more than I think I can ever explain. And you know,
when Rico said I found Mandown, the word I heard was community. And then as you guys were talking about like your journeys and healing and where you've been like finding your path in life through them with the support of them, it brings me back like years ago when I went to an opiate conference, and they were talking about one of the most crucial factors in recovery is, now this is going to sound like a pivot, spirituality, which does not have to be faith, does not have to mean a god or church or religion, but that they also tie AA and fellowship into that. So when I heard you say I found Mandown, I heard community, I heard fellowship. Like I found a group of people that I fit in, that we all met mutual goals and started to work toward those and supported each other in our goals.
Well, they were supporting me and they didn't even know it. I apologize.
No.
Mandown supported me and they didn't even know what they were doing in the beginning, you know, like when we first met and whatnot. And I wasn't there for the creation, so to speak, Tommy. I came right after.
Oh, I know.
Right.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people have come and gone, and we've seen, you know, it's been around for, 10 years, I think, 11 years now, 12 years. It's been a long. A lot of people have come and gone, but it just expands, you know, and it's created that thing, you know. Me and Rico, you know, one of the things that kind of get to the end point, and something we had talked about before, it's actually he's helping me kick off that idea of doing that thing that we're calling a Kings Weekend, where we're gonna start doing this and hopefully build it over time, you know, and open the doors to anybody who wants to be part of that community and get away with the guys, go golf for a weekend, you know, just be with each other, help build each other up, talk about how we can help each other succeed, how we can help each other feel better about situations that they're having hard times with, things like that. It's exciting. Lots to come.
I love this.
We could seriously talk all day, and I'm so thankful that you guys are so willing and vulnerable, because I know that's difficult for anyone to do. It's difficult for anyone to get on camera and talk to people, let alone talk about your feelings and talk about your trauma and talk about their vulnerabilities, and then add being a male in American culture on top of that. So like, I just, with all the love in the world, I just like could throw it to you. Thank you. Because I know this isn't easy. And also I know what discomfort, like working through discomfort does for people. So I hope you get that benefit out of it too, on the other side of like doing this, because I know it wasn't comfortable for you, Rico, and I know it's not comfortable for my husband every time, but you know, it's one of those things.
Well,
like
I'm doing this the whole time. Just
it's like a mountain, and once you climb it and get to the top, you're like, yes, like I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. But we could literally talk forever, but I know, you know, for our listeners' sake, you know, when I listen to a podcast, I don't want to go over an hour because I'll start to get burnt out. But Rico, is there any like mantras or anything that like you want to just leave the audience with? We always ask, yeah, if there's any like saying that you have that kind of keeps you going, or anything to fellow men out there with their mental health.
Just keep your head up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's short and simple.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You're welcome. Rico.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
We had planned for our next Mandown mental health series to be on March 28th. However, we have a conflict with scheduling, so the next one will be on April
25th.
25th. Thank you. So on 3/28, Kelsi and I will fill that slot either with another guest, or you'll just get us two talking about whatever we decide to talk about that day. So I just want to make sure our listeners knew, because I know we already put the schedule out. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, so you don't miss on the future episodes. And please comment and let us know your feedback. If you have any questions, you know, whatever the guys are willing to respond, we will definitely get that back to you. Any ideas for future episodes, let us know. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.